Okay. Leasing by consent. The you know, we're members of the public. We've got every right to be here. Yeah.
Alright, come on then. Should we walk across the fields?
We've come up to Lowbury Hill, Old Berkshire or New Oxfordshire, to see an Anglo-Saxon burial. I've just been to where his bones are, which is in Woodstock Museum up near Blenheim Palace in Oxfordshire. Yes, it's definitely an Anglo-Saxon burial. There's lots of interesting things to do with it. It's obviously very high status, and now obviously the burial was dug by archaeologists and antiquaries, I think, and now we're going to go and have a look at the site. Here. This is like I only got the 100 mil on. Is it? Behind me you might be able to see the Lowbury Hill burial. It's an Anglo-Saxon burial. It looks like a Bronze Age round barrow. It is in fact Anglo-Saxon. We've just been to Woodstock in Oxfordshire to look at his bones and the artefacts that came with him. It was definitely an Anglo-Saxon burial. There's a long sword between his legs, and there's a round shield with a boss, and there's various other bits and pieces that show us he's Anglo-Saxon. But then he's got a spearhead with a bit of enamelled spirally nonsense on it, engraving on it, enamel, and that's not Anglo-Saxon. And he's got a cauldron or some sort of bowl that would hang in his house, and that's got spirals on it, and that's not Anglo-Saxon either. And what we have here is an Anglo-Saxon, probably a king or a prince of some sort, very probably, looking at how high status he is by his belongings. We do have an idea who he is, but I've completely forgotten his name. But he spent, and we know from isotope analysis, minerals are in his bones, that he spent his time in Cornwall, his childhood in Cornwall. So, and the Anglo-Saxons never got as far as Cornwall. So we have an Anglo-Saxon king who's also a British king, or in some way ideas, maybe mythology or culture in some way. He identifies, probably, or the people who buried him identify in that way. And it makes it very interesting, an idea of not just invasion and the apartheid that the Anglo-Saxons brought to Britain, when the Welsh were separated, seem to have had their own settlements when they were allowed to stay in England, and when they weren't, they were pushed out to Wales and Cornwall. But yeah, this is an interesting burial. There was a mother with a baby on her lap in the front of it while they're playing cat and mouse with the police. I don't mean I'm not being judgmental, but it was, you would have just assumed it was just some kids, messing about. But yeah, I'm sure there's a story there somewhere. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, back to Romans and Anglo-Saxons. Yes, this place was important. Probably, I think this is one of the temples that was set up in the latter part of the Roman occupation, where they started to revert back to paganism from Christianity. I think Emperor Julian, and there's a number that appeared. One, I did some photography down in Maiden Castle in Dorset and Breen Down in Weston-super-Mare. It's the same thing. So that's interesting in itself. And the Romans they synthesised their gods with the Celtic ones. And what I think is that this Anglo-Saxon here, who wasn't quite an Anglo-Saxon, he was just as much British as he was Anglo-Saxon, wanted to associate with that ancient Romano-British Celtic past. That now he's part of the landscape just like they were, and he belonged here. So anyway, that's and he overlooks this wonderful land. And anyway, so that's our trip to Berkshire/Oxfordshire. See you on the next one. Get over it, go on.